Hi, hey everyone, how's everyone doing? I hope you're having an amazing day. I'm a little bit excited today because my worm farm has arrived and so I'm at work and I want to go home and set it up. I'm really looking forward to setting that up later. Cannot wait, so excited. You would have seen that I posted a few things about that. If you haven't already done so, I highly recommend you get onto your local council website and just check out what deals they've got going on in your area, whether it's composting, whether it's worm farming. Highly recommend you get on and check that out because I'm really excited that my food won't be going to waste. You know, they cut off some vegetables and that kind of thing. So highly recommend you check it out as well. So today I'm going to be talking about body signs that indicate we could be a bit estrogen dominant. And by body signs, I'm not talking about symptoms. So I've talked about symptoms before and I will go through them a little bit right now. So when I talk about symptoms, I'm talking about heavy painful periods is a telltale sign of estrogen dominance. We've got menstrual cycle. When the menstrual cycle is shorter instead of being longer. So if the menstrual cycle is 20 days or less than 26 days, that's an indication that you've got an issue with estrogen dominance. Remember, if the cycle's longer, 28 days and longer, goes to 30, 35 days, that can actually indicate that you're a bit more testosterone dominant. So that's a symptom. Another symptom is moodiness. You know, moodiness and depression, particularly with elevated estrogen. We get those moods, particularly in that later half of our cycle after ovulation. We might also get a lot of water retention and bloating. Bloating is a symptom, and constipation around ovulation. And then also we might get low thyroid symptoms. So our body temperature can go down with estrogen dominance. We might even get some hair loss with estrogen dominance, that kind of thing. So, you know, all symptoms, especially the moodiness, those are kind of the symptoms. The fogginess as well, that can be a symptom as well. That fogginess in the morning, not being able to think, not being able to concentrate. So those are all symptoms. But today, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about body signs. And I talk about body signs a lot because it's something that I use in practice. And it's just the way I can correlate things, and it is the way my mind works. When you see particular body signs and things that are going on in people's bodies, I try and trace back to what's going on, what could be causing that, and why is that being caused. And so body signs is such a big part of what I do and a big part of what I research in my work, and I just love looking at this and looking at what they can mean. And ultimately it's a great way to help yourself, and it's a great way that you can look at things in terms of your overall health, you know, what's going on, and it can put you back in the driver's seat, you back in control about looking at these things before they become an issue. You know, one thing is skin tags. Skin tags is a huge indicator of you know, insulin dominance and blood sugar dysregulation. So if you've got a skin tag, that's your body's feedback mechanism telling you, okay, you might have an issue with blood sugar, you might have an issue with insulin, let's get it under control. And these are things that you can do yourself. All of these things are things that you can do yourself because it all comes back to diet and lifestyle first. And then if you need that extra help from practitioners like me, you can. But these are things that you can do, you can be empowered to do them. So that's why looking at body signs is a really cool thing that you can do. Hi Jacqueline, haven't heard from you in a while. Are you off to any music festivals soon? Hi. Okay, so one body sign, and this is a body sign that's an indicator of estrogen dominance, and it's an indicator that you do need to have a think about what your hormones are doing, and it's not just about going out in the sunshine, but it's moles. I've actually got a couple of moles. I don't know if you can see. I've got a couple of big moles actually. I've got a big mole just here, and I've got one. I can't remember which side it is and I've got one just here that you can't see. But this one has actually got darker, and this one I think is actually due to estrogen dominance, because I used to be quite estrogen dominant years ago when I was going through a lot of stress, going through a lot of low thyroid things. So this is an indication for me about my estrogen. Some of my moles have gone lighter, and that's an indication that maybe my hormones are actually balancing out. So think about when women are pregnant. In pregnancy, things like moles and melasma, they get darker, you know, that darkening of the skin. This is that hormone distribution. But larger moles, especially with a red wine colouring, is a red flag. A red flag that your estrogen isn't doing what it needs to do in your body. So not only are you dominant, your estrogen is actually filtering down into a metabolite. So it's actually a huge indicator that you need to start looking at your estrogen. You need to start looking at what is your estrogen doing, work on your diet, adding in lots of more green vegetables, working on your liver and cleansing your liver out, because this is an indicator of high estrogen, and we know that estrogen excess causes inflammatory diseases, you know, from autoimmune and from cancer, all this kind of inflammation. So it's not to scare you, but it's for you to actually be in control of what's going on and notice these things come up. Do they get worse? Do they get better? Are they slowly coming up quickly? And really to get it under control. So moles aren't just an indicator of you going out in the sun. Moles, particularly larger moles, particularly if they're a red wine colour, that's an indicator and what I call a body sign of estrogen excess, and that the estrogen isn't clearing as it should be through your urine and through your bowel motions. So working on your liver, lots of green vegetables, working on your gallbladder is key, particularly if you've got those. So that's a huge sign, and it's one that I look out for when I see clients. When I scan their body, I just see, you know, how many moles have they got? Are they at risk of the estrogen excess? Is this something that's happening now? Or is it something that's happened in the past and they're getting better? Okay. Second is darkening of skin. Darkening of skin and liver spots. So liver spots, which I'm going to call gallbladder spots from now on, because it's more of a gallbladder sign. So this is really interesting, and this was an aha moment I had a week ago when I was sitting at dinner and I was thinking about liver spots. Liver spots is a sign of the liver and a sign of the gallbladder, but really what it really means is that your gallbladder is essentially struggling to get rid of the bile and get rid of the toxins and get rid of the estrogens and get rid of the hormones. It's struggling, either there's gallbladder stones, gallbladder sludge, and it can't get rid of it. So what essentially happens is this estrogen goes and it pinpoints various receptors in the body. It might be melasma up here, it might be a mole on the side, and then it might be liver spots. So women notice they get more liver spots if they have got that estrogen excess, and particularly postmenopausal, when the gallbladder's really starting to struggle. If we haven't looked after it, if we haven't done the right things for our gallbladder, we notice as we get older we start to get what's called liver spots, estrogen spots, gallbladder spots, and it's where that change can occur. So again, that is a sign. That darkening of the skin is a sign that we need to look after our liver and gallbladder. Those are the two key things here to get rid of that estrogen excess, to start cleansing it out of the body. You know, so if you have any darkening of the skin, melasma, moles coming up, liver spots, then that again is a body sign that your body is not doing what it needs to do with the estrogen. You know, it's putting it into the wrong spots, it's doing the wrong things, and your liver and gallbladder are struggling to actually get it out of the system. So that is my second body sign. My third body sign is Kerasis Pilaris, and do you know what, Jacqueline, I was thinking of you just then, because I was thinking, I know that that I knew you'd ask that question. And again, you know that if you don't have something, so if you haven't got an appendix, you know what you need to do. If you haven't got an appendix, you need to love up your body so much with good bacteria. The appendix is there for a reason. The appendix holds good bacteria, so you know you need to go more than anybody with lactobacilli, bifido, all of those good bacterias. The same with gallbladder. The gallbladder's function is, so what our liver does is, our liver does all its detoxification, which we can call methylation as well. So methylation and detoxification kind of are part of the same process. And what essentially happens is your liver pumps the bile into the gallbladder. In that bile that's come from the liver are things our body wants to get rid of. Toxins, heavy metals, hormones, that gets pumped into the gallbladder. Then the gallbladder empties into the small intestine, nice lovely bile, out through our feces it goes. If you don't have a gallbladder, then you need to be making sure your liver is doing what it needs to do, and you need to be working more on your liver and assisting your body in methylation, so assisting in detoxification, so giving your body more bitters, giving your body like dandelion root. You need to be making sure you're having the right B vitamins, N-acetylcysteine, glutathione. You need to be making sure you're giving your body the sulfur it needs, either MSM, I was going to say MSG, but that's the problem when you talk on Facebook Live. You sometimes say the wrong thing, and I've said that a couple of times. MSM or SAMe, these sulfury type things that help your body on a regular basis and support your liver to be excreting. So your liver needs to be working a little bit harder, because instead of it pumping it into the gallbladder for storage, it's just going to be pumping it through. So it needs to. So you just need to support your liver a little bit more, Jacqueline. Keratosis pilaris is what's called chicken skin, and it's on the backs of the arms. Now this is like eczema. This is like any body sign, acne, eczema. Some of us are prone to getting that, others aren't. And it's not one thing that can cause this. So it's not just estrogen dominance that causes keratosis pilaris. It's also celiac disease, it's leaky gut, it's gluten intolerance, dairy intolerance, insulin dominance. So for you it could be something different. So but what you may notice is that during certain parts of your cycle, when your estrogen goes up, say ovulation, you might find that it triggers this to get worse. So watch through your cycle what happens to skin conditions like that. But what you'll notice is there will be a causative factor. Normally it's from the gut or it's from your hormones. Okay, so you just need to figure out, where does mine come from? Is mine a gut issue, or is mine essentially a hormone dominance issue? So if it is estrogen dominance, like I say, you might notice a flare-up through your cycle. So that's another body sign I look out for, and another body sign that indicates that you could be estrogen dominant, estrogen excess. Another thing I have noticed, and this is in a client of mine, they have the keratosis pilaris, but they actually have it on the backs of their arms, but what they have it with a little bit of discoloration, so that a darkening discoloration in the spots, and that again is that estrogen dominance coming up on the skin. So not only have we got the keratosis pilaris, we've actually got pigmentation as well. Those two signs together, that's a telltale sign of that estrogen excess, that metabolite excess actually going onto the skin. And I did test this client for metabolite 16OH, which is actually a metabolite we want to keep nice and low. And I tested this client and her metabolites were high, so that was giving me a little bit of an indication that those estrogen metabolites was causing the keratosis pilaris and the pigmentation on her skin. So question from my client is, can we resolve this? And answer from me is, if we really try and get to the root cause and work on it over time, we can either improve it, stop it from getting worse, or maybe we can really backtrack it, but only time will tell with conditions like that. You know, if they've been with you for a long time, it can take a while. But my advice is, once you figure out the root cause and be working on that, and with things like keratosis pilaris, not everybody is the same. It's just like eczema. I could have eczema because I'm allergic to a cat. You could have eczema because you're allergic to dairy. Someone else could have eczema because of stress, and someone else could have eczema because of low vitamin D. So that's where it starts to get complicated. It's not exactly that one thing, but it's a combination of a few different things, and for different people it could mean different things. So just figuring out what it is for you is the important part. So number one, we've got moles, particularly red wine moles and particularly larger moles. And if you have 6 or more like larger moles, then that's something I would actually advise getting your hormones tested and doing your metabolite test as well. We've got darkening of skin, we've got the melasma, we've got the liver spots, anything that starts darkening on your body or face. We've also got keratosis pilaris, and the fourth body sign is thrush and dandruff and any kind of fungal infections. So the lovely thing about estrogen is it feeds yeast. It feeds yeast infections. So some women might find through their cycle, say mid-cycle around ovulation, when your estrogen is higher, you might find you get thrush. So you get thrush once a month. Or you might find that dandruff flares up really, really bad. or you might find that tinea comes back and then it goes, it comes back, then it goes. And that's normally the cycle. You just notice that some people get a fungal infection and then it goes away for a few weeks, then it comes back. So that can be the estrogen. Estrogen will feed yeast infections, estrogen will feed Candida. The annoying thing about this, the really annoying thing about estrogen feeding the Candida is that Candida produces estrogen, which is really annoying. So one with the other, and they just go along and they're a happy couple and they keep precipitating each other. So that's the annoying thing. My advice is, if you think you're estrogen dominant, to work on that. But if you have a really severe yeast infection or a really severe Candida or anything going on like that, then I would advise looking at not only your gut health, but looking at your methylation and your detox pathways, because your body probably needs a little bit of extra help. Just omitting sugars and doing, say, the Candida diet doesn't always work, because there's more going on within the body. You know, you may need some glutathione, you may need some bees, you may need some help methylating. So there might be a few other things going on there. So always start with diet and then just see where that takes you and how that goes. But if estrogen is the factor with your Candida, then you need to get that estrogen under control, which means you also then need to get the Candida under control at the same time, so they don't cause one and the other. That's number 4. Number 5 is one I used to get a lot, and not so much since I'm less estrogen dominant. I went through, actually I had a lot of these signs. I went through an estrogen dominant phase, I suppose, through my teens and early 20s, when I didn't look after myself as much now, when my diet wasn't so good, when I was stressed, there was a lot going on. And facial flushing, facial redness was a huge one. And it's actually an interesting one, because I look at some people, especially guys and even young people, and I look at them and I see that really, I'm thinking of Prince. Who am I thinking of at the moment? Prince Harry. He has those really red, that kind of like the redness, and I always had that redness. And I don't know this 100%, but what I suspect is that's an estrogen dominant trait, even at that age. So I think there is a bit of estrogen dominance going on, and even as young kids and even guys can have that estrogen dominance, because we can produce estrone. Estrone is produced by stress. So if we're in the womb and we're stressed out, there'll be more estrone. If we're stressed as children, or if there's something going on, estrogen in the environment, we get that estrogen dominance. What happened with my red cheeks is the more I got my hormones under control, the better that kind of like evened out. It did even out, but it used to be very pronounced. Hey Claire, hope you're well. Nice to see you here. So that's something there. Also the flushing. So if you get that flushing as well, that's more adrenaline, but that can happen as well. Another thing is when you've got that estrogen dominance, your veins dilate as well. So you might have more veins over your body, and also so the veins are dilating here, blood's rushing, and that's causing a bit of inflammation. So that's just something to consider if there's any, with estrogen dominance. And I've had some clients, actually some younger clients who I have tested, some girls around 13, 14 who do have the redness in the cheeks, and they have tested for high elevated estrogen as well. So it's just something I've noticed, and I will have a look at that a little bit more. 1, 2, that's my 5th one. 6th one is cellulite. And this is a really interesting one, because again, cellulite can be caused by a lot of different things. Sometimes we just genetically got it, sometimes it's just the way our fat appears. Some of us have kind of like more bobbly fat, lumpier fat. But with cellulite, it's very interesting when it comes to estrogen. So there's a few different things that can be going on here. When we have elevated estrogen, we get that water retention. Low progesterone, elevated estrogen, we get that water retention. We hold on to fluid into our body, and we might get puffy hands, we might get puffy in the face, we might get that belly. You know how you feel like you've put on weight overnight? Like one day you'll weigh X amount, and the next day you feel like, I just feel heavier, and you might weigh yourself and you have actually put on like 2 kilos, and that can be that water retention, and that's very much that estrogen kind of water retention, holding on to that fluid. So that's that fluid retention. So what essentially the fluid retention does is it pushes out the fat pockets, and so on your bums and thighs it can look more prevalent. Another thing is that elevated estrogen can cause an issue with a hormone called relaxin. A hormone called relaxin is actually produced when we're pregnant, and what that does is actually can help to relax and break down the ligaments, okay? But this can actually affect your connective tissue. So if you find you've got thinner skin, maybe you've got white stretch marks that are getting a little bit, and they're very thin. You've got the stretch marks and it feels very, very thin, coupled with any cellulite. That can actually be a sign that you've got high estrogen, and that is causing an issue with the relaxin hormone as well. So that's causing a little bit of a breakdown with the connective tissue. So definitely upping things like bone broth, upping things like collagen protein, making sure you're getting a good vitamin C, making sure you've got a good amount of D as well. Maybe go for something like a green pastures cod liver oil, just to make sure you're helping with your connective tissue. The same goes when you're pregnant. So if you're pregnant, and as the relaxin gets higher towards the end of your third trimester, then there will be a little bit of breakdown of connective tissue. So really make sure you keep up things like collagen protein, make sure you keep up things like good fats, make sure you're having a good amount of protein, because the more you have this into your diet to kind of feed your connective tissue and everything, the better that will be, and the less you'll suffer from, you know, cellulite, stretch marks, or any thinning of the skin. And this goes without saying, postmenopausal thinning of the skin is an issue, so you need to be doubly sure that you're getting all your good things for connective tissue in your diet. You know, you're really getting that, and you're not withholding these beautiful foods. You know, the more good fats you have, the more butter, the more collagen, the more oils, those kind of things, anything to build the skin, build the connective tissue, is going to really, really help if you suffer from cellulite or that thinning of skin or excessive stretch marks as well. So there we go. Those are the 6 signs. We've got moles, larger moles that are wine coloured. We've got darkening of the skin like liver spots, melasma. We've got Kerasis Pilaris, which is called the chicken skin on the backs of the arms. Fungal infections like Candida, thrush, and dandruff that flare up. We've got the facial redness, you know, the reddening of the cheeks, or the flushing, or excess veins, you know, when you see all the spider veins, lots more spider veins coming. And then we've got cellulite coupled with sort of thinning skin, like thinning white stretch marks. All of those can indicate an issue with estrogen excess. So focusing on your liver, focusing on your gallbladder, focusing on you getting your 6 cups of vegetables a day and your fiber, and just making sure that your body's doing what it needs to do to get rid of the hormones that you don't need, and the hormones that aren't doing positive things for your body, essentially. That's the best thing you can do. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Jacqueline, for your comments. Really great to have you here. Hope you found that helpful. If you've got any comments below, pop them below. Any questions, pop them below. And if you have got any other signs you think you know are connected to this, I would love to hear about it, because I always love hearing of new things. It's exciting. Alpha Venus supplements. Oh, Alpha Venus. No, but as soon as I get off, Claire, I'm going to have a Google. Yay, Christy! That's awesome. I can tell you, since I've been really diligently working on my hormones, and certainly they're not perfect, but I know the tone of my skin has changed a little bit, and I've stopped having moles pop up. And this mole, one of my moles has started lightening. This mole, I think, is always going to be there. My niece said to me when she was about a year ago, she goes, "What's that?" It's interesting that it's just there. What's interesting is, as well, me and my brother have got a mole like exactly the same spot. I have no idea what that is. If anyone knows, genetically, is there something? It's like exactly the same spot my brother and I have. So I'm wondering if it's something to do with my mum's genes or my mum's estrogen while she was pregnant. I don't know. It's really interesting, but I'm going to figure that one out and find out about that one. But yeah, definitely most of my signs have gone, Kirsty, as well, Christy, since I've been kind of working on my hormones and getting them balanced. Okay, thank you, everybody. Claire, I'm going to look at the Alpha Venus supplements and see what they are. I haven't heard of those. They might be a good one. Take care, everybody. Have a fabulous day, and I'll talk to you all soon. Oh, I'm going to show you my worms later as well. Worm farm, not my worms.